Hello and welcome. I'm Elizabeth Locke and welcome to my show called Hopeless to Happy. I have a beautiful guest with me today. Her name is Misha Almira and she is a breatharian healer and energy medicine practitioner and also a transformation guide. And so I'm really excited to talk about what she has on the plate today. So I just want to say welcome.
Thank you. It's really nice to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I'm excited to talk about this topic because I think the principles that go behind it are very, I guess you could say like universal. Like, many of us have different terminologies and things for things that we experience in the world. So I'm very excited and curious to listen and learn from what you have learned in your journey.
Yeah.
So, so with that, I would love if you could share kind of your background and maybe your journey that took you through the healing and the trauma aspect that you mentioned to me earlier.
Sure. So I've basically been a sensitive person since birth and yeah, an empath, if you will. And I grew up with an alcoholic father, and I just naturally absorbed a lot of darkness, guilt, shame, kind of self-loathing, and feeling like I was a bad person for no reason, and not really understanding that as a young child. He would come in raging, and I didn't understand why he was so mad at me. And I started really struggling with weight, overeating, binge eating, yo-yo dieting. I was a dancer, so that seemed normal, but it really wasn't. It was, I think, just a way that I could control something when everything else in my world was sort of out of control. And I remember from a very young age, I turned to church. And growing up as a Lutheran, later as a Christian, I felt this strong connection with Christ. Uh, but I started in my 20s sort of feeling like there must be something more, and started searching. I ended up joining an ashram for meditation teachers in 97 and had a first awakening in 98. I ended up teaching for a while, leading that group, went through years of a dark night of the soul and really feeling lost. Uh, in 2009, as a result of that, I started on the shamanic path, and it just sort of came to me synchronistically. Uh, had another awakening in 2015, um, and have been doing shamanic work for quite a while, just really expanding, a lot of expansion. And then in end of 2018, 2019, went into a depression. It was a year of a great loss, grief, feeling lost, feeling personally stuck, and I just kind of lost control over food again, hit a sort of bottom, on multiple levels. And again, I really sank into a grief and became aware. It was almost like the self-loathing kind of rose up again, and became aware of it, and how it was dictating my life. Out of just desperation, I found breatharianism, and I started dancing again after many years. I had a new awakening began, and I was learning to exist on a new level. And so, on all levels, physically, emotionally, mentally, and on a soulful level, I felt like I was sort of recalibrating on all levels, doing this, coming from this. And I started working with pranic light codes more, reprogramming and rewiring a new nervous system, basically. And so this is the journey that I'm on now, the daily journey that I'm working with, and I'm being called to share that with other people that may have similar struggles, similar background and just that feeling of hopelessness, um, bringing some hope and sharing what I've learned in my path. Um, I will say that, I was led to do a lot of the healing because I was aware of self-sabotage. And so when good things would start happening to me, doors were opening, all of a sudden this self-sabotage would come in from this really, really deep programming of I am a bad person, which I've, carried from a young child. And so it felt like something that was kind of under the surface or behind the scenes. And so when I became aware of and being led into energy type healing and emotional healing, and like going into these traumatic wounds, then I really felt like, okay, that's got to be it. That's got to be where to really release these things that are behind the scenes.
Well, thank you for sharing. I'm curious about your connection. You said in the beginning that you had a strong connection to Christ, and then you had an awakening or two or three along the way in your, journey. Have you been able to kind of reconcile the two together, or how do you view that now, coming from, that kind of background of being told, I don't know for sure what you're told, but I know, like, in mine, and coming from the church, it was like, oh, I'm just a filthy sinner, I'm just dirt, I'm just this, I'm just that, and I don't know if that was your experience as well, but you had a connection there. So where are you now coming out on the other side of that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The pure part of what I was drawn to in church was that connection, that heart connection, that Christ inside. But there were conflicting messages again, like, you're bad. And it would kind of, there was just a lot of fear around it, which seemed out of sync. And so when I did start teaching meditation, the organization I was with was For Christ. And what I've found is that with each awakening that I've gone through, it's actually it's expanded the view and my perception. And so there's more love there and more of this universal connection with the Christ energy that I knew from the very beginning, without all the fear. The fear can kind of fall away. Now, does that programming still bubble up at times? It does, but it seems like with each, like with the work that has happened, I feel like I've been guided by this, Christ within, the connection that I felt with Jesus and still do. And so I feel like that has guided me all along. So I feel a deeper connection with that now without the fear. And it's inside and it's outside. And it's just a really beautiful place to be with that initial connection that I felt at the heart. But I feel like I had to go through dark nights. I feel like I had to go through dark phases to really unravel what I'd been taught and what was truth. And really had to ultimately sink into my own heart and my own, like the depths of my soul, and really find out what's true there, what's there. And then that, essence came back. It's really just an infinite, beautiful intelligence of love and God connection. So, but yeah, had to go through quite a bit of darkness and digging through it to get there.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Sorry, I'm feeling a little bit of feedback, so I'm not sure where that's coming from, so forgive me here. Okay, I think we're good now. So I'm really encouraged by what you just shared, just because I think there's so many people who have come from that place and having that expansive view as we explore other things, which I can say for myself as well. And so I really not that you need it, but just confirming with you that it really is an interesting journey. I think that we are all being led into this greater realization and coming out of the trauma, whether it is religious trauma or childhood trauma from parents or other people. It all has the same effect, right? So we don't know who we are, we lose our sense of self. And then when we finally come to that realization of this just unbounding love, this unconditional love that is universal, right? And it's for everybody, and that we're all connected through that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bringing healing. I think we're seeing a lot of the fighting against it. Like people are trying to raise the awareness, I guess you could say, of the consciousness level of others. And there's a lot of kickback. But so many of us are being led to take this path so we can help and share other people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Um, so in your journey in releasing all of this, the shame and the guilt and everything that you experienced from the past, you talk about a pranic upgrade. Can you explain what that is and how that works?
Yeah, so basically, prana is energy or life or divine love, uh, life force energy. And so with the pranic upgrade, what we're doing is we're allowing and working with this conscious breathing and bringing in this pranic life force energy to clear out what we don't need. It can basically, it's just bringing in this universal intelligence and love and allowing things that don't need to be there to kind of wash away and to fill up with what we're ultimately made of. Um, Pranic energy is anything that makes you feel good when you're at the ocean or in nature, or, it's the reason that we're drawn to go to these places of beauty is because we're connecting with that pranic energy. And so in a pranic upgrade, we're just really getting back to that, to be able to find nourishment from that life force energy or the life-giving sun energy. And just like the plants do, it's our natural state of being. And so we're drawing nourishment and energy from the elements, from the sun, from the air, from breath, bringing it in. And we're consciously doing this. We're consciously breathing. And, there have been masters and cultures that have learned to consciously breathe and attained enlightenment. There's Jesus that fasted, that meditated, that went into the desert. Um, there's Buddha, the Incas would gain nourishment from the sun. And so, it's kind of a combination of uh, fasting and using conscious breathing and gaining nourishment from something else other than food or in addition to that. And what I find is that it can cause immediate healing, immediate vitality and energy boost because our being already knows how to heal. It already knows how to evolve. It already knows how to be happy. It already knows, it's infinite and intelligent. It knows how to love and it knows how to give love, give life energy to other beings. And so we're just really working with that and getting out of the way and releasing these toxins and toxic energy that's stagnant. We're allowing that to release and coming back to our natural state. So I hope that answered it. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I'm curious, in your experience and journey through this and helping other people, have you seen for yourself and others heal from things, conditions or whatever that maybe they've gone to the doctor before and didn't get the answers, or, what kind of, if you don't mind sharing maybe some experiences that you've witnessed yourself in that.
Sure. I've seen secondhand people actually have been able to stop their radiation treatments because their immune system has been boosted, with this sort of thing. I personally have worked with people that have had extreme back injuries that just won't heal, won't go away, can't do it. And just with working with this energy, the body healed it, has healed itself and let go of the pain. And so they've been able to get up and walk away and go, I don't feel any pain. That's a pretty common thing. They'll have old knee injuries with a lot of scar tissue kind of built up in there, to the point that they feel like they're always going to have that pain. And in working with this technology, they're able to stand up, move around in ways that they weren't able to, and go, you know what, I'm not feeling pain like I was. And it's such a beautiful experience to see when something like that happens. I've had, people that have had depression, chronic anxiety, and they just have either tried meds and they stopped working, or they don't want to go on meds, and they're working with this, energy medicine and the chronic work, and it just really alleviates that to the point that they can feel like they can function, that they're not having to hide anymore because they're in this state. I've seen people improve their eyesight working with this energy. And so, there's just so many surprising ways that it can help. And a lot of times it'll go into places you don't expect it to. And then that'll help symptoms that you've had in other areas. Because really you're just allowing their being to do what it knows how to do. And, again, clear out the stuff that's been in the way.
That's really fascinating. It really shows, it actually really empowers people and shows them that they can do this on their own. I mean, with the help of, God or the divine, however you like to say that, that we don't necessarily need an external source, right? But people like you and I and others who help others to guide and show them that they have the power within. And
yeah. Yeah, in fact, we're all our own medicine beings, we are, and we don't need to keep going to someone else, because the intelligence is inside of us already. It's really just finding that way to awaken that and tap into that again. And that's what's so exciting about it, is that it is empowering, and on many levels, which I feel like is essential right now at this time.
Yeah. I would highly agree with that. When we see so many people frustrated within the medical community, and I'm not saying that, we don't need doctors. They're definitely there for their purpose, and they have a function and purpose. But there's a lot of things that they don't have answers for. And that's where we come in, and we empower ourselves and others to tap into that healing aspect, and once we have those tools that we learn, it's not necessarily that everything is fixed, especially with the emotional side. Like you were mentioning, sometimes you get the fear or something rise up, or but that we can get to a place where we don't allow it to affect us anymore. We can recognize it quickly, and diffuse it, and maybe eventually get to a place where, it just kind of flows through us instead of getting stuck.
That's it. Because I mean, we are emotional beings, so we are meant to have things flow, but it's where when it gets stuck that it causes problems, right? Or dis-ease or out of balance. So if we can just get to where it just flows through, like a child, they feel something, it flows through, it's gone. They forgot about it. They're off playing now, and that's I believe our natural state. So as long as we can get back to that, it's not about not feeling, and it's not about not having something, a reaction even, but if we can just get to a place where we can let it go, and that's really what we're talking about here is releasing the stuff that keeps it stuck and being free to just be beautiful beings like we are, full, full beings. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. When you mentioned about being, like the child, a child typically will cry on a drop of a hat, right? I don't get the cookie or I don't get that, right?
Yeah.
So maybe as adults, we're not like breaking down in tears, but we learn how to, I guess you could say, channel the emotion and just let it go. Once we have the tool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I know I introduced you. You are a certified breatharian healer. And I know that many people may not know what that is in application, or maybe they've heard of it, or maybe they've heard things that maybe they're not sure about. So can you go more deeper into that practice and I know for myself, I've heard people who are breatharians. I know you mentioned a little bit before, but that the food aspect, like I've seen articles out there that people claim they never eat food, or they live off of the sun, or whatever.
Yeah.
And can you just go deeper into that, and so we can understand it on a more expansive level?
Sure. Yeah, that's probably the biggest question that I get is, are you just not eating food? But it's actually an option to eat food in the transition. We do, juicing and vegetable juicing and water, simply because it allows more prana to come in to build that relationship with it again. I eat food when I want to. And what it's allowed me to do is get nourishment from other things in addition to food. So from the pranic breathing, from just sitting outside, I feel like I can actually get, this might sound strange, but I can actually get fed by just being in the elements now and being in the sunshine. I feel nourished and fed. I eat, if I want cake, I'll eat cake. If I feel I want food, I'll eat food. What I find is that I'm more naturally drawn to healthy food now. So it's just allowed more freedom of being able to choose. Whereas before, I felt like I didn't have the choice when I was really in the overeating, binge eating, that part of it for me. So this has helped me to establish a healthy relationship with food. Some breatharians or breatharian healers are more extreme. Some live on just juice, and some live on just water. Some live on nothing, most, just air. There's just a few that do that. So there are different degrees that you can do, but basically it's just learning to nourish with other elements and other things that contain prana. I know some people that just eat a high pranic diet and they bring in more prana in the body and they're able to do it that way. So breatharian is basically just nourishing with more than food, nourishing with prana in different elements.
Interesting. So you're talking connecting with the elements and the creation, if you will, and using that as part of your um, energy source. And then also the connecting to God or the divine is like as a whole unit. Is that what kind of what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So the more that I worked with the prana, it comes in the breath, but it ends up connecting you with God and the universal love. And so it's all just you just become more connected in a bigger way. And you're able to draw nourishment from that. And then you can eat or you can not, but you don't need food. You don't need, it's not that desperate feeling of, I've got to eat, I'm starving.
Right.
You can eat for enjoyment. You can drink for enjoyment.
That's really cool. Coming, both of us coming from a more traditional religious background, like we would probably parallel that with like fasting and praying, or like when you pray and you're in such a high level of connection to, our source of love that you have no other desire but to be in that place.
Yeah.
And then you do, like, you don't feel like you need to have food or whatever it is as much as you thought that you did. And I think that can really play a role too um, in what I've been observing in some of my own circles about, addictions.
Yeah, so I was going to talk about that.
Yeah, right. We can lead right into that, whether it's food addiction or some substance or whatever, that real connection to that love source is really the key. But what is your experience in that, or what would you like to share?
So on a personal level and working with other people with addiction, I found that this common theme is feeling emptiness and feeling like you want to get away from that. You don't want to feel empty. So I'll do anything to fill that up. And so reach for self-destructive, substances or whatever it is. The addiction part is not wanting to feel empty. So this is that connecting with the higher power on an energy level. It's bringing that in and filling up. And so then the addiction part, what I find, falls away because you're filling up. It's filling you up physically. It's filling you up emotionally. It's filling you up on a soul spirit level. And so that is part of, when people are digging themselves out of addiction, that's one of the first things you want to do is connect with something bigger and bring that in, right? So this is a way of doing that and a practice to do that. And the more that you work with it, the more of that comes in and the more fulfilled you feel. And so you're not worried about that emptiness because you're not feeling that anymore. At a deep cellular level, you feel full. Maybe for the first time in years. And that's what I love about it, because coming from addiction in my background, I know what it feels like to be empty and desperate and trying to not feel empty anymore. And then feeling completely full and fulfilled and connected with God, connected with Source, connected with that Supreme Being.
And that's really awesome too, because I have a question. So how does your experience in, the religious circle compared to what you're doing now as far as, healing from an addiction? So I know a lot of people, and I'm not speaking for everybody, of course, but a lot of people, you say, oh, I rely on God, I rely on God, I rely on God. And it's almost like, again, they're just speaking words that kind of speak of an external source, right? So how does that differ, do you think, in the process of healing from addiction versus what you do now in your more expansive practice? Does that make sense?
It does. For me, I feel like when I was just, going to church and doing that as, every Sunday and prior practice and all that, I feel like I was looking through sort of binoculars, and like looking through this way. It has opened up more. I feel like I'm connecting with that same source, but in a more expansive way. I feel more connected with the words that Jesus spoke about, we are love and the kingdom of God is within. And all of these things have taken on a new meaning because it's experiential. It could because you feel that when you tap into that universal love and that universal intelligence, you I feel what I was trying to seek through church. And so I guess for me it's just a broader, bigger um, perception of it. And I feel like it's more experiential instead of talking about it and reaching out for something that is out here and trying to bring it in. So that's the biggest difference for me, is that it feels closer. It feels like a breath away now, instead of something that I don't need to go anywhere to connect with it. I don't need to do certain things or act a certain way. It's just right here, it's right here all the time. And it's the same. It's the same.
Oh, when you mention having to do or act a certain way, are you speaking on the level of having to seek approval before you can receive the love? Is that where you're getting at? Or like,
Yes, there was that. There's also this idea of, when I was growing up, that you had to dress up, you had to go to church, you had to act a certain way, and if you didn't, that was bad, and that you wouldn't be connected with that. You had to do certain, you had to act a certain way, look a certain way, and there was like that kind of overlaid, you know. You can't sing too loud from your heart. You can't get too like wild and crazy, because you have to be this way. So there is that, yeah, seeking approval or feeling like I have to do it the right way. I have to, or it's not going to work, and I'll be punished. I won't be connected with God, which, yeah,
right?
like the little girl in me, can remember feeling that way.
Yeah, I can relate to that, and especially in the context of being told that you're a bad person, but yet the actual truth is that we are created in the divine image, right? And like
Yeah,
that's the truth that I go straight to now. I don't go to a truth or a non-truth that says that I'm some filthy rag human being, that I have to connect with that place that knows that I'm created from love. And that's why I find like the healing begins, that I know if I'm created from love, or I am a spark per se of that love, or a finger, or whatever you want to call, like we're all like pieces of that love, and just helping so people tap into that reality, that truth. I think is a completely complete paradigm shift,
it
and
is.
helping to heal from those traumas, wherever they may come from. It's definitely been helpful for me in times where I get the emotions and feelings that aren't serving me, that come up, and then I have to just remind myself that, oh, wait a second, I am love, I am this, I am peace, I am light, and I just reconnect with that truth, and it really just helps to dissipate, whatever I'm going through in the moment. And it's way more empowering to heal through that than to just say, oh, like, I don't know if you would be like martyrdom or whatever, like I'm this, and I'm just that, to now when I hear that kind of stuff, I cringe,
Yeah.
because, it's like, no, you don't have to be in that place. You come back to who you are and your true being and your true essence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that I am that, right? But I do know that for years, carrying that shame that I wasn't aware of for so long, we end up kind of attracting what we're holding on to sometimes, or what we're resonating with inside. And so that shame would come up as people attacking me, verbally abusing, or bullying. And it's, you're going, but I'm a good person. Why is this happening? I feel like, but that shame is still carrying that, I'm bad. And so a lot of times we will create situations where it's not feeling like that's reflecting the love, right? And so that can be confusing. And until I was able to really get to that deep, deep level and release that shame, I couldn't completely get on board with I am that love. I am that. I wanted to. I did. And I could feel that love, from that Christ. I could feel that, but it was still separate because I couldn't quite match that with all this shame inside and, self-hatred. And it was killing me, And so there was this conflict. And sometimes that can be, that can cause a lot of despair because we're not able to get to that, how can I be this image of God, but yet I'm getting attacked, and how can I be that? And so that's where the trauma inside gets, a little tricky.
Yeah.
In our reality.
Definitely. I think there's that aspect that that is hard for many people to come out of, especially, I speak from my own experience, and that I didn't even know there were things there that I needed healing from until I went through the experience of actually healing. And then all of a sudden it was like I knew what needed to come up at that moment. And then once I gave myself permission to release all of the guilt and the shame for something that I couldn't be held accountable for as a child, it was just so liberating,
Yeah.
And after experiencing it, it was like, oh my gosh, this is what it's like to be set free from all of those ugly feelings and emotions of the guilt and the shame and all of that, and feeling like I'm responsible for everybody's whatever. And
Yes.
yeah.
Let's put that burden down. It feels so light after that, right?
Right. Yeah, I know.
Beautiful.
Definitely. So, so if you could maybe give the viewers maybe a little bit more detail, like what you would take them through in a session if they were to schedule something with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is done on a table. I do distance if that's requested, and then you basically just want to be in a comfortable position, in a comfortable place, and then we go through a series of uh, breathing exercises. It's very simple, and really all they do is just relax, and I guide them through it. The breathing, we'll breathe into, we'll allow the mind to breathe, the emotions to breathe, the physical body, and then the spirit to breathe. We'll go through just a series of that, cleansing, clearing out each one of those areas. And then we'll bring in more prana because there's more room. And then we move on to several sessions of breathing, ending with one that is energizing. The pranic energy comes in and energizes. We also work on activating the energy centers through the session. So you're activating, you're also aligning and balancing. And then we finish in just grounding. And it's a complete, normally it's about an hour, sometimes an hour and a half if we have a lot of releasing to do. And just getting in touch with that prana. So the body, then at that point, once it comes in at that level, you're always going to have that to be able to be, again, your own, allow that your own healing after that. And so it's really relaxing and invigorating at the end. We just really get it all pieced up and very expansive.
Awesome. And I think a key word that you said there was allowing. And that was something that I learned too, is the word that just to allow myself, when I'm breathing, to allow myself to create space, allow myself to relax, like, again, many of us rely on external sources that tell us, oh, it's okay for you to do this now, or no, it's not okay for you to do this now.
Yeah.
And really taking back our power and saying, no, I can release the shame now. I can release the guilt. I can release the pain, whatever it is. And I really love the word allowing too, because I think it does create more space,
Yes.
right? Instead of forcing, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
when we actually expand through the breath, or expands through, the stretching or whatever it is, that we're allowing and expanding and creating the space for the healing.
Yes. And it really just feels like you're being loved for an hour and a half, when you're just relaxing and allowing, and that love just washes over you. It's such a good feeling. It's, and it's amazing how hard that is for us to stop and do that for an hour. Like, like, I have so much to do. I have this to-do list. Like, how can I just stop and breathe for an hour or do a session, have a session, be loved? Like, you tell someone, lay down, I'm just going to sit here and love you. How hard would that be? It's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful.
I could see how people who aren't used to that, it could be difficult in the beginning, because, we become so numb to a harsh world, people, where it's just about competition and performance and, judgment. And there's so much of it out there. And so anybody who's watching this, I really do encourage you, if that is somebody that you have been up until this point, I would highly encourage you to begin allowing the word allow into even into your headspace, and even scheduling a time with Misha, and so she can help you on that process of allowing more love and healing into your life. So I would love if you could share, because we have special free gifts for all the viewers of the summit, and I know that you have something that you have specially prepared just for our viewers. So if you would mind sharing that.
So this is an aspect of the whole healing, and it's really, I feel like, the best place to start. So it's about a 30-minute session of the energy center activation. So you're activating within your body those energy centers that maybe have gone dormant and thrown you out of balance. or are keeping you kind of stuck. Maybe if you're in a constant fear state, it could be one of the centers that isn't fully activated, isn't flowing. So this session just really focuses on opening those centers, activating them, bringing your full everything into alignment, and activating those light codes so that you're able to just light up, and everything can flow more freely. You'll find yourself feeling more loving. You'll find yourself feeling more grounded, more vitality, right away in the session. You'll be able to relax more. You'll be able to just kind of go throughout your day feeling good, and you'll notice that feeling good feeling. So I think that because I chose this to be the free gift because it's such the perfect place to just reset and start that introduction to opening and allowing more loving. So, and it's so simple but yet profound, and it really starts opening and awakening. So I think it's something that everyone can relate to and get right away.
Well, it sounds amazing. I think I will find myself signing up for the free gift as well. Everybody needs a nice refresher. And I thank you so much for offering that to the viewers. I think it's a very beautiful and wonderful gift. Is there anything else that you would like to touch on?
Just, I feel like I'd like to remind everyone, in addition to allowing, to really come from a place of loving and consciously going into your day, and what do you want your day to be like, and just really kind of focus on that. Do you want it to be loving? Do you want it to be fun? Just really allowing that to come in. And I feel like it's so easy now at this time to be in default. And for myself, waking up in the morning and going, okay, how do I want this day to go? How would I like it to be? And just kind of setting that up. And I feel like we can all connect in such a beautiful way in doing that, even if we're feeling separate, feeling distant and that sort of thing. I feel like we can set it up to feel connected more, to feel connected in that loving space. So I just want to put that invitation out there.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, there, it's gone. The feedback, a little feedback today. Well, Misha, I thank you so much for joining me, and this has been a really beautiful session, and I'm so thankful that we got to connect and share. And I love that, I love talking with people, especially who have similar backgrounds, and how we've kind of, come to new revelations per se on certain matters. So this has been extremely joyful for me, and I hope everyone else has felt the same, and you have a very sweet spirit. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And I encourage the viewers once again to take advantage of the really beautiful gift that Misha is offering you, to have this free session of healing and activating all of those healing centers within you. And thank you again for coming and viewing and talking with me. And I wish you all more success and love and peace.
Likewise.
So it was a beautiful time. So
Yes.
Take care, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.